welcome to the Limitless Property Podcast. Today I have a very special guest, Mr. Benjamin Cooper, who is our star broker at LLG. Ben, how you going?
Very good. Thanks for having us.
That's good, mate. You nervous?
Nah.
No? You feeling all right?
Yeah,
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Well, today we're going to talk a bit about your personal life, what you've done, how you got to where you are now. And I'm going to start it with, what did you do straight out of school?
Yeah. So during school, obviously, you can choose to do a bit of TAFE, and I did woodwork, electrical, or cookery. I ended up going in.
Sounds like the perfect misbehaved school student.
Ended up going into chefing.
Yep.
And so finished TAFE, got into a role straight into after finishing that.
Cool. And what did you do at TAFE?
Commercial cookery.
And then you went and worked.
So yeah, you do it 2 years at school, and then that obviously goes towards after you're finished. You got 1 year that goes towards your 3-year apprenticeship.
Yeah,
essentially. So did 2 years in TAFE, so 1 day a week while working.
Yeah,
I was working at QT Sydney, which is a restaurant, fine dining.
And you would have been what? Dish pig, something like that, or you're actually cooking?
No, I was had my own section, so I was doing an oyster section. Actually, I used to hate oysters.
Yeah.
Actually ended up loving them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you start from the bottom rung. Obviously, you're working with somebody, learning the processes, that sort of stuff, and then you build up to having your own section, and then you move around and go through the rungs.
Very good. And when you were doing that, you were saving pretty hard.
Yep.
You weren't making a heap. What were you making? Do you remember your hourly rate? What was it?
Oh, I was probably making like $500. It was like 13. So it started with $9 an hour, $11 an hour.
And what year? What year was this roughly?
What was it? 2012.
This guy's older than he looks. Yeah. 2012. All right. Righto. So 2012, you're on $10 an hour.
Yeah.
And you're still saving money though.
100%.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Which is how did you manage to save so much when you only make?
I was living at home,
yeah,
obviously, so not as many expenses, which is good. But always had a process of like putting a bit away, had a bit of spending. I mean, that's from, younger processes of, doing your Dolomites account that you had, your mum and dad would give you a bit of money, do a bit of chores to kind of push it into the bank account. And then obviously just always I got into the Barefoot Investor.
Yep.
And obviously started using the bucket
17 accounts. Or?
Yeah, it didn't start with that many. I started with about 8, I think.
Yeah.
And then it cut it back to about 4.
Yep.
But always had, I'd get a bit of money, push it into a savings, send out my weekly sort of spending, and then, dip into the small savers as well. Yep. So it was good.
So you're working hard there.
Yep.
And then we've talked about this before, but by the time you're about 21, 22, you had enough saved for a property deposit.
Yep.
But you didn't buy that property.
No.
So what went on there? Why did you buy?
So just over that process, obviously. So I started working when I was real young.
Yeah.
Doing nannying. I did a bit of working at kitchens and that sort of stuff. Worked at McDonald's. Always put money away. So I think I was about 18. I probably had about 20.
Yeah.
20 odd.
It's good.
I think then after those years, it was the next 4 years. I think I saved up another 20 roughly. So I had about 40,000 ready for the deposit. At that stage, I didn't really know too much about property, to be honest. And so I was just kind of looking around, looking at what I could afford.
Around where you lived?
I was actually looking in North Sydney. So I used to live in Epping. But I looked in North Sydney and there were little units for 400,000. I was like, done for, 10% deposit. But I didn't really have any guidance of what would be a good property. Would that be a good investment? I mean, looking back on it, those properties actually haven't really grown that much. So it was really good that I didn't go into that property.
That would have been high rise, high density unit stuff.
Or red brick sort of places. They just haven't done heaps work, because they were studios more so, not even a one bedder, and ended up deciding that I would use my money when I went over to Europe and England when I lived and worked over there. Spent all my money within that 2 years, came back dead broke, maybe even in, further debt than I went over with. But it was a good learning process. And I mean, it's an experience, right? You can't take that back. I'll never get back that. They were some of the best years of my life. So definitely well worth it.
Yep. So you went to Europe, spent your house deposit, came back at what, 24, 25 years
Correct.
old or something?
24. Yeah, so 2-year work visa.
You came back and you went back into hospo.
Back in a hospital, yeah. So I was doing restaurant managing at that stage. So I lived in London for 2 years. During that process, I changed from being a chef into restaurant managing, came back, did a bit of restaurant managing here, kind of hit the limit. So I was the restaurant manager. I was like, look, I'm working for other people. I'm not really like getting anything. I want to get more out of it. It's very hard to buy a restaurant or like, start out on that sort of business. Hospitality is a very precarious sort of workplace to go and, invest in. Came out of it and then had a bit of an inside joke with my parents about starting up a cleaning business. Ended up starting that one up and then,
And the cleaning business you did for what, 3 years?
Yeah, about
4
3 and a
years,
half, 4
something
years.
like that. And that went pretty well. You worked hard, very hard in the start.
Yep.
What was that like at the start? How many hours are you doing a week? What are you doing? You cleaning toilets, floors?
Cleaning toilets, floors, everything. So I actually went on Airtasker and started doing jobs from that. And then started to build like regular clients. My first year I made $20,000. Obviously I was lucky enough to be living at home at that point. If I was renting, I would have been stuffed. I think at the end I made like 10,000 profit after all expenses and stuff like that. So the next year I think I made about 100 grand or something like that.
That's good.
Which wasn't bad.
Yep.
I then in that process had kind of taken somebody on during that process as well. And then I think the year after, like the money was much better, but there's a lot of cash that's involved with some of those, cleaning businesses. So yeah.
So then you got to a stage in the cleaning business at about 29, which we've spoke about before, which you would say you semi-retired because you had staff doing the majority of the work and you were running the business, but not necessarily having to work in it day to day.
So I got up to a point where I was like, I was doing quite well. I was doing, sometimes $10,000 weeks, but I was working absolutely to the brim. So I was doing 15, 18-hour days. And I was like super, super tired. I was actually really in the point of maybe getting out of the business and doing something else. Had a couple of chats to a mortgage broker, one of my mates. I was kind of thinking about that at that stage. And then a friend of mine, his partner needed a job. And I kind of had a full work week that was ready to go. And I essentially just trained her up during a process. And then she just took over that like list essentially. And she just obviously she'd get paid a percentage of how much the cleans were. And I would take a clip off the top. I bought her a car, obviously, and, she paid that off during that process as well. But then I also I kept on, obviously, I was getting jobs all the time.
Yeah.
I had my Google going well. Around referrals, cleaning businesses, as long as they've got, my Facebook pages and that sort of thing as well. Once you've got referrals coming in with that business, you're really set. Another girl came on board because I had, just enough to give to her as well. And at that point, I kind of took off the reins and started going to the beach every day at 29. Obviously I enjoy not working just like any other bloke, you know what I mean? But going back and looking at that, I probably would have put a little bit more effort into it, and I really could have grown the business if I wanted to as well.
The minute that he got off the tools, he was like, done.
That's me. And then I kept on spending like I'd been getting paid, so I kind of, diminished a little bit of the savings.
And then in that time, though, you weren't just going to the beach.
Yeah.
You were also thinking and starting to look into mortgage broking. Correct. So you probably thought, I'm that good at cleaning. I can just leave that there. Nailed that. And now I'm going to go and start broking.
Yeah. So during that process, obviously I said that I started looking at property at 22.
Yeah.
I've looked at property and buying it about 3 or 4 times during that process, right? So one by myself, one again by myself, one with a partner, and then another one just prior by myself again with the business. Each time I'd had enough deposit and ready to go. I just couldn't buy the bullet because I was always flipping whether owner occupied or investment.
You didn't have anyone there which is obviously what we see a lot.
Yeah.
Clients that they come and we say, what do you want to do? And they're sort of like, I don't know. I want to buy a property, but I don't know what the best option is, which is probably where you're at because you didn't have that broker or that person to say, go down this path.
Exactly. Look, it was always one of those things. Your parents want you to buy the owner occupied, and I and some people want to go down that direction. For some reason, I was always thinking the rent vesting. I didn't even know what rent vesting was, but I was always I'd rather rent so that I can move around and do stuff, because I've always liked traveling. I traveled overseas. I would travel around Australia in a caravan. Do you know what I mean? Like, these sort of things make more sense to me, that I just have an investment that's like turning over and paying for itself, rather than me buying a place that I'm just putting all my cash into, essentially. So during that process, obviously, then I went into looking. I was dealing with a couple of mortgage brokers at the time.
Yeah.
Two actually, and both of them didn't really have great customer service. They weren't really looking after me. I called them and they'd hang up because I wasn't, that somebody else needed to have a call with them. And I wasn't feeling the love. I knew another broker, one of my mates, he was in the industry. And so it kind of put me off actually buying, because
Yep.
I didn't have the people that are around me that are supporting me, right? And I think that's what we obviously bring these days, is like making sure that you're available all the time. You've got people that are around you if they need referrals, accountants, financial planners, buyers agents, like
Yep.
we have. Having a good team around you and supporting those clients is obviously the best thing that we can do. So it inspired me to get into that, because I'd done hospitality for years. I know good customer service. I'm pretty good with numbers.
Yep.
And so dealing with that, I really wanted to get into it.
Cool. So you did your certificates and
Did my
diplomas
certificate,
and all
did my
that.
diploma, learnt from a broker, did my traineeship sort of thing. Obviously, you do your mentoring.
Yep.
Did that process, got into a business that was dealing a lot with accounting clients, high net worth individuals, lots of trusts, investors. So during that process, learned how they were kind of structuring things. Obviously, the trusts were good, but also just seeing people using their personal names, using either interest only or P&I would have suited them both. And then getting into buying properties in high growth areas that then either immediately or 6 months or 12 months down the track, take out some of that equity from one of the other banks and then buy another one.
Yeah. So you're seeing investors start to build portfolios. You're learning about that.
Massively.
You're learning about obviously the new career being
Correct.
broken, but
Correct.
also seeing other people
Yeah.
buy property, which started you thinking, I need to buy property again.
Exactly.
Now, fast forward to today.
Mm.
So we've had the cleaning business. You've started the broking. The
Yep.
broking started going pretty well.
Yeah.
The cleaning business is not going as well because you're retired from it. So what, you wound up the cleaning business, said,
Yeah.
that'll do.
I wound it up
Couple staff
because one of the girls needed a job full time
Yep.
sort of thing, and I wasn't able to provide that at that time. So she obviously heard that portion of the business. I tried to push it on to the other girl, who then had another cleaner, but the process wasn't as clean, to
Yep.
be honest, and I didn't want to. Like, obviously, I've had years of looking after these clients. I didn't want that to diminish my profile and
Reputation.
the
Yeah.
reputation. So ended up just closing the business and saying, thanks very much, guys.
Wound that up.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Went all in on the broker.
Went all in the broking because I knew that that's the direction that I wanted to go in. I thought that was going to be, it's literally going to be the career of my life, I reckon. You know what I mean? Like, either doing that or being something around this business
Yep.
of property investing or, buying properties, whatever it is. But yeah, being property is where I want to be.
And now,
Mm.
today, so turns out that going all in on the broken was a pretty good decision.
Pretty good decision.
You've settled a couple months at a 10 mil plus lately, which
Yeah.
is pretty insane. The
Yeah,
average broker does about 12 mil in a year. I don't know what they're doing, but anyway. So broken's going well.
Yeah.
You're making good money again, and you're starting to buy property yourself.
Yeah.
So that takes us to, how long ago was it? It wasn't that long ago, 4, 5, 6 months.
Our first property bought
Yes.
was in August last year.
August last year.
So what's that, about 7, 8 months
Yeah.
now?
Yep.
Settled on my first property, obviously with a bit of guidance from you yourself.
So you bought that. Where was it?
Bought it down in Ballarat, so 800 square block, front, like facing sort of house with, the opportunity to put a granny flat at the back.
Yeah, you had side access down the side,
access.
plenty of room at the back.
Exactly.
Low maintenance
Low
building.
maintenance,
Nothing
already
to
had a
do, really.
den in it,
Yep.
just an easy set aside. Like, obviously it had a couple of things I need to work on it that I've done now, probably for about 5-6K, which at the end of the day, it's nothing off the top of my head. So,
And you bought that, and how much was it?
bought it for 560.
560.
Yeah.
And you've pulled equity out of that already. So
Yeah.
when you bought that,
Yeah.
you were hunting pretty hard for a couple months as well.
Mm.
So I think, I thought at the time, and I went there, I seen the property as well. You bought it well. I think you bought it under what market would be, and that was because you were chasing the market there for a few months and talking to agents and trying to get off markets and everything like that, doing all the right things. So you bought that well at 560, but then you revaled it when? Start of this year?
Yeah, I mean, I revaled it pretty much immediately.
Yeah.
And I knew that there was already about 120,000 worth of equity. So immediately.
Yeah.
I didn't use that at that stage just because there wasn't anything that I was looking at right away, but I knew I had it in the back pocket. So when I did find my second property now, I ended up pulling some of that equity, just a tiny little bit, because I'd already had a little bit of savings left over from buying the first one.
Yeah.
And used that to buy my second property.
And the second one is
My
where?
second one is down in New Norfolk, so just north of Hobart. Bought that for 460 as well.
Yep.
That's renting really well. Ballarat obviously has a little bit less rent, but New Norfolk's quite strong.
What'd you get rent-wise on that?
$450 a week.
It's good. Yeah, 5%.
Quite strong.
Yep.
So happy with that buy as well. Already immediately, I mean, this one's one of those ones that we have.
This one's one of those ones that we looked at and went, wow, look at this. So Benji bought this property, done a valuation on it again.
Yeah.
You bought it very well,
Yeah.
I think. And again, that was through, you say you just went there, you bought it, you searched that market again for, I don't know, a month, 2 months beforehand.
Look
realistically,
it's around,
Yeah.
because obviously I think, that
so we're doing the
price
live
point, I
agency
wasn't
and
able to buy for
Yeah.
something that I liked up in Ballarat or the areas that we were already looking up, in Victoria. So then obviously next steps were maybe looking down in Tassie. So that suited the price range. And then obviously the area, I looked at the numbers, the data was growing, 10% yearly. Still had a great rental yield. And so I just bought that one knowing I did a valuation on it already. And it already had about 230,000 worth of reusable equity.
Yeah, so you bought that.
Yeah.
I think you bought it under market.
Yeah.
But
Well
you've
under
done
market.
a few valuations with different banks.
Correct.
And you've seen that there could be literally a couple $100,000 of
100%.
equity in that property already. So your plan, this one, has it settled yet?
Not
It has,
settled. So
No, it has settled, hasn't it? The property's settled.
The property's
but you're going to refinance it shortly.
Yeah, Tasmania at the moment has an 8-week wait on their title.
Yeah,
so
probably because the market's so hot.
essentially it's not underneath. Yeah, exactly. Which is good.
Yeah.
And it's a really good sign.
Yeah.
But yes, it hasn't essentially gone underneath my name, so I can't really use that 230 yet. I'm in the process of refinancing and taking out that cash at the moment, because obviously I want to invest again. I want to get my third one potentially this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
And then maybe even shift some into my super and potentially get a fourth. So
it's going to be 4 properties in 15 months, I reckon.
Yeah, that's the goal.
If not
Within
18
2
months,
years
but
or something like that.
definitely
2
within
years,
2
essentially.
years, it should be 4 properties from zero.
Yeah, correct.
It's good. And that's because you understand the finance side of it too. So you understand what structures and way to plan all your lending and that sort of thing. That's one thing. Income is good because you're doing a lot of deals and you're working a lot.
That's it.
I've said it to a few people, but over Chrissy, how much time did you have off over Chrissy?
Not much.
It's
Only the days that we had, for Chrissy and New Year's and stuff like that, like the majority of it, I was still working. I mean, you're down at the beach for some of it, you're coming back and you're working. But I mean, I grinded pretty hard because I know that normally that period for us, as you know, it's like
slow.
pretty slow. So your start of the year is very, very slow. But
So everyone has a rough January
correct
in broking because through December they don't do
Really
much.
start-
Your January was
nobody's looking.
11.5 million.
which is
So-
strange. But all
Yeah.
the clients that I had were wanting to do deals during December, so I can't just pull off because I've got my holidays.
Yeah.
I knew that if I put in the work, then it'll obviously come back for me. So
You're working hard, you're making good coin,
Yeah.
you know the strategy around structuring the portfolio,
yeah,
and you're also buying the right properties.
Correct.
And you're buying under market value in locations that are going up. So that property that you bought, last one, like we said, it's already valuing up at like 200,000 more. That's a combination of you bought under market, your market's already moving in the 2-3 month settlement window too. And also if you go and run multiple valuations with different banks, you're going to get figures that vary. That's a big one. A lot of
Correct.
clients come to us and they say, can't get any equity out with, whatever bank, Combank, whatever. And then if we go and run valuations with 3 or 4 other banks, they can be 10, 15% different.
100%. I mean, we
So-
had one yesterday. So I've got a client at the moment. It's a father and son. They bought a property together. Only 2 months ago, I valued the property. It was about 620.
Yep.
Yesterday, he came back to me. The father came back to me. Obviously, we're doing another deal for him, and he was SMSF. But he also talked to another broker about something, and they'd revalued his property. I did another valuation with the same bank. It was 720, so it had already gone up like
620 to 720 in how long?
yeah, in like 2 months.
And that was with the same bank.
Yeah, correct. And then I did another valuation with another bank, and it's valued at 870. Yeah.
So when we do this for clients though, which you obviously you know this, but a lot of the time, they can vary, but then sometimes one bank will just favor that property for whatever reason,
Correct.
a long way over all the others.
Yes.
And the conversation is just with the client, hey, just this property might not actually be worth exactly this much,
Correct.
or just be careful when we pull this out that, this
100%.
situation.
I mean, it depends on what their decision is with this property and if they're going to long hold it, because at the end of the day, if they long hold it 5, 10, 20 years, then at the end of the day, whatever they pull out now is obviously going to be able to be paid off in the future.
And
right?
sometimes they're only cashing out up to 70% or something anyway. So it's not a big drama. But bottom line is, if you're doing valuations and you want to build your portfolio, you need to be using a broker that knows how to go and play the banks and see where we're going
that
to.
are the best.
Exactly.
So, I mean, there's only 3 banks that we really use, and we always know that they're going to do the best valuations.
Yeah.
So, I mean, 2 really.
Yeah.
I know that do the best ones. And they've got pretty decent rates. You know what I mean? And they also, like, it's super quick, super pay. I mean, one of them does day approvals for formal approval for me.
Exactly.
The other one, we've got really good contacts with the BDM because we move these deals. I mean, we do so many with them that they're like, let's put everything that we can to get those deals through.
Yep.
Right? So
Shout out to Noreen.
yeah.
We love you.
We love you.
Wherever you are.
And Arnav as well. Absolute legends, the best. So good. Having that support from them obviously benefits us.
Yeah,
as well.
sure.
Yeah.
All right. So you're pulling the equity out. Where do you reckon the next property is going to be? And what will that be? Another residential, personal name, trust? What are you thinking for that?
Yeah,
Fill me in.
it's a good answer. I mean, good question. Looking probably, it's funny, obviously, with my borrowing capacity, I only had a certain amount that I was able to purchase for my second one.
Yep.
The one next actually is more.
Yep.
Obviously, the income's getting a little bit better from the commissions and that sort of stuff as well, but also having that rental income boost that up, the negative gearing. Probably looking at about the 600 mark if I want, in terms of deposit and borrowing capacity. So I'm looking at maybe Shepparton. I've been liking that area. But potentially even, your Bendigo and that sort of area as well. Cookery, potentially, we'll see. Obviously a good property needs to come up, but still maybe I reckon go back to the Vicky market.
Yep.
I really liked it. I think there are some underrated.
That's still ridiculously undervalued. Melbourne's
100%.
cheaper than Adelaide and Perth.
Yeah.
When's that been a thing? It's never been a thing.
Yeah.
It's
unbelievable.
ridiculously undervalued.
Exactly.
And it's at some point, it's going to revert to what it always has been, which is usually second behind Sydney.
Yeah.
So I think as Melbourne booms, those outer areas like Bendigo, Ballarat, like you're saying, Geelong, they've already had good growth the last 18 months, 2 years. But if Melbourne takes off, which it is going at the moment, but I think it's got a lot more room to take off more. When that takes off, it's only going to ripple out to the outer areas and keep fueling them.
Definitely.
So
out of the like states at the moment, where are you kind of looking at for property purchasing?
Vic and Tas, predominantly for us, made a post the other day that I actually thought potentially some units in Sydney are undervalued. The low set brick.
What sort of areas like?
I reckon Western
Sands
Sydney.
Easy
Yeah,
and
no,
stuff
I reckon,
or-
well, if you go down Brighton Sands and stuff like that, that's actually not bad. There's still units there. I mean, you made a video on it like a year ago. But there's units there for like 800K,
Correct.
750
Still
to
going.
800.
I've been looking around there.
Two and ones, walking distance to the beach
Yeah.
in the old red brick 60s, 70s walk-ups. But I think even out Campsie, even places like Wiley Park, Lakemba, those sort of areas, the units in those older blocks are pretty good value. And the yields now, you're getting yields of 5.5%, sometimes 6% in Sydney, which is
100%.
insane.
The rental market in Sydney is
So
obviously strong.
yeah, it is.
And it's
We're
continually going up.
for
Like
sure.
it's
Yeah.
very obviously renting in Sydney. It's very difficult to find good places to rent as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
So
And we're not buying there yet,
Yeah.
but it's on the radar because they're good value. They haven't performed well the last 10 years. And if you look at the gap between the average unit you can buy units in that Lakemba Wiley Park area. You know, people have their opinions on that area, whatever. People have their opinions on Ipswich where I bought, and it's more than doubled, tripled in 6 or 8 years.
Yeah.
So people's opinions of a certain area don't affect the performance.
Yeah.
More so, actually, a lot of the time, people's bad opinions of an area are actually the ones that
Correct.
boom
They're
the
the ones
most.
that's obviously
Undervalued.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so in those areas, the disparity between the median house price and the units has actually never been bigger. So I think, again, that will catch up at some point too. And because they haven't had growth for so long and we've got very high yields, it's kind of the recipe for growth. I don't know if it's going to start immediately. They already have done all right the last 18 months, but I think there is an opportunity there. And if I was in Sydney looking to take advantage of something like the first home guarantee as a first home buyer, that's what I'd be doing.
Yeah.
Whether it was in Campsie, Lakemba, Wiley Park, even out Penrith, stuff like that, or like we say, in the places like Brighton Sands, Sans Souci, those areas, they'd all be good options.
Yeah.
I think
because you're not buying anything in Sydney for under $1 million.
no,
Which
definitely
the
not.
majority of people, if you got about let's say the average roughly about $100,000 per applicant, you're only really looking at about a mil purchase.
Exactly.
Right. So either you're doing it out west, your Box Hills and that sort of stuff, which
Mate, it's $1 million for a house in Mount Druitt now, though.
Yeah.
You can't get, it's tough.
Yeah.
So
probably pushing out to even like Emu Plains and stuff like that. But obviously the Newcastle train line coming in soon.
fast rail, yeah.
Do you think that will obviously?
I think it'll help Newcastle, but
Yeah.
Newey's already done well the last 5-10 years or whatever, and always. But yeah, I think it'll definitely help Newcastle. So I don't think it's going to be a negative at all. I just think, Newey's pretty expensive now. We're not really buying there. But I think, the unit situation in Sydney, if I was an owner-occ in Sydney, I'd probably be looking towards that for my first property because you can buy a $500K unit with 25-30 grand. It's silly.
Yeah.
Free stamp duty, get in with the first home guarantee, hold it long term.
100%.
You're going to do well. And then pull equity out and go and invest in.
Because the developer's going to come through in a couple of years and end up.
Those lower density ones.
And what it is.
Well, especially along that Esplanade, Brighton Sands, Sans Souci area.
Oh, they're all red bricks.
They are. Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah. So that's what I'd be looking at if I was a young bloke in Sydney trying to buy my first home. But for you, so next one we're thinking will probably be around Vic. Go for another house, something like that.
Yep.
Then I reckon we can do an SMSF as well in the next 6 to 8 months, something like that. What do you reckon you're going to do there? Any ideas yet? Or
No idea. I got to obviously see what I've got in terms of borrowing capacity.
you will do an SMSF though?
Definitely doing an SMSF at some stage, whenever I can. It's just about getting the money in the fund, to be honest. And then, what do you think about buying in the SMSF? Do you think still buying the same sort of house that's got the future development potential, or buying something that's maybe like, a townhouse that's got the growth, but also good rental yield? Or
depends on what budget you got in there, which is going to be coming down to obviously income and also your deposit, which is also
pretty much how SMSFs are
Yeah.
based on.
Yeah, so
your cash balance,
that's right.
the rental income coming through it, and then obviously the 10% contributions that you're using, and then maybe an extra 10%.
But I think you, if you can buy for 500-600K, that's all right. But I still wouldn't exclude a unit or a villa in a good location at that 400 to 500K price point, which I've bought plenty of them myself and for clients. And
For sure.
if they're bought in the right location, they do just as well as a house and often have a better yield. So you can buy a unit in somewhere like a Ballarat North. When I say unit, like a freestanding, or a one of two, maybe half a duplex, something like that in Ballarat North. I seen one the other day go for 390 grand.
It's not bad.
Rents for like 370, 380 a week, 5% in one of the best areas in town. Absolutely no maintenance, renovated to a decent standard. It's very set and forget. Just buy that, mate. Forget about it. That's all you need. You don't need to overcomplicate it, especially in your SMSF. You're very limited on what you can do.
Correct.
You can't knock it, or you can knock it down and rebuild. There is certain ways to do that with some lenders, but it's very, very limited.
It's very difficult.
And especially if you've got debt on it, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
But
You really want something that's really strong, that's just really set and forget for you to just hold for however long and then either sell it or just keep it there and keep it going, right?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So for you,
Mm.
if we have this conversation in 3 years, where are we going to be? Right now,
Yeah.
2 properties.
2 properties. Yeah.
In 8, 9 months, whatever it is, less, 8 months.
6
Yeah.
months. Yeah. Yeah.
Where are we going to be? How old are you? 33 now?
33.
Where are you going to be?
Ripe old
So
age
36.
of what, 36?
Yep.
Yeah. Look, I'll probably, hopefully at that point, I would have bought a couple of other ones. I'm thinking about 2 or 3. 2 within the next, year, 2 years if we're going slow. But then obviously, I think that there's definitely some.
But you are going to keep going. You
For
want
sure.
to build more
I think I'm
portfolio.
continuing the property journey for the rest of my life, I'd say.
What if
Get
the
up to
market
the-
crashes?
I don't think
We spoke about this
We spoke about it this morning. Look, and a lot of clients ask it, right? So I get it, and it's a good question to ask. I don't think the market's going to crash because, you look at the data, it might have had little dips here and there, but since the 1940s, 50s, obviously going through those wars, property wasn't really like an investment to buy, right? So that was very
So up
flat.
until about 1940, 1950, it wasn't going gangbusters.
No, it was just like,
But then
this
since-
kind of slight, steady growth. And then since it's gone up like that, and it's continued to go up and down.
70 years.
Correct. And it hasn't died. It hasn't crashed. It's never gone down to where it was in 1940s or anything like that. And it never will, because the government profits out of it. We profit out of it. So why would you ever?
Government just gets a can of petrol every few weeks and shuts it on there, mate. Then blames the
Put new
investors.
first-home buyers.
Yeah,
schemes,
exactly.
Which have
to
been there
everyone
for the
there.
last 3 years, but
Yeah.
change it slightly so that more people come in. But no, I think it'll continually grow, and I think it's a really good investment. Obviously at that point, 3 years down the track, I might have started to put in a bit of shares and stuff like that. But when you look at the growth of what property does, and you look at what I've literally recently done, you don't see hundreds of thousands of dollars
Of gains.
come out of nowhere, literally on the day that you buy the property. No share is ever going to do that.
And if it
Unless
does, there's as much chance of it going as well the
100%.
next day.
Correct. Yeah. So the amount of money that you put into that, there's a much more of a risk that it's losing out. Whereas the property, you're going to be able to sell it. It's bricks and mortar, right?
Yeah.
And you got land. So at some point, somebody's going to buy that land. So
And if
they
the
can do something
value
with it.
goes down slightly, which if you look back over history, markets will drop 10%, maybe 15%. I think some suburbs in Perth, after the last boom, I think it was 2015, they came back 15, 20%, which is a lot for property. However, it's not common to see a share go down, 80, 90%, and then obviously go out of existence. So that's not going to happen with a property. But if your property does come off the boil and it comes back that 5%, 10%, which is common after a massive boom. A lot of markets will go through a massive boom. VIC's going through a boom now. It might boom for 2, 3, 4 years, and then it will have that period where it tapers off, comes back a little bit. Coffs, where I live, it's tapered off the last 3 years. It's come back 10, 15%, but now it's good to go again. It's on the rise.
Definitely.
Thing is with property, in that bad time when the market retracts a little bit, someone's still paying rent.
For sure.
You're not completely losing. It's not like your stock price when it's going down and you just check it again the next day and it's gone down more and you're depressed, and then you sell because you're down, and then it goes back up, and then you hate yourself because you sold. Then you try and buy. It's a nightmare. So
100%.
you're the same as me. I think I'm not against shares. Like there's a lot of people that I'm sure do shares well, but I meet a lot more people, and obviously it's because of the business we're in, but I've not met that many people that have retired from shares or made significant wealth early on in life, say under 40, from shares.
Yeah.
It's a long game.
100%.
It's fine. I get people.
Which property, the majority of it is a long game as well. There's obviously a lot of spookers that are out there these days that say, oh yeah, you can make 150,000 a year out of it and that sort of stuff. And they obviously do, it's just drawing you in, right? So it's drawing you in. It's a long game, and like getting these properties and building that wealth so that then at some point you can obviously sell it and then make that income. I don't think that they really, sell that into you can't really sell that dream, right?
No.
Hey, would you like to come with me for, 20 years and then do that?
Yeah.
It's a long journey, and it's a good one, because if you've got the rental incomes coming through, then you've got a steady income that's going to be,
Yeah, and you'll be negative at first.
Yeah.
However, I bought
At some point.
properties 5 years ago that were negatively geared, and now the property price has doubled and the rent's also doubled. So suddenly you're in a position where you're positively geared.
Correct.
I'm not as a whole,
Yeah.
but certain properties would be if I didn't go
balances
back and
out, right?
pull equity out of them. I've pulled equity out of them every
You're
6
not gonna
months.
keep-
So
exactly. You're not going to try and keep them positive because your goal at the moment is to continue buying
Acquisition.
properties, right?
Yeah.
So you've got 9 now.
yeah,
Obviously, you've had a couple of in between, and you sold some as well.
Yeah,
So
sold
you're
one,
looking
yeah.
for your 10th. This
Yeah,
year.
you probably do
Thinking
10th
or
this year.
so? Yeah.
probably will.
And what are you going to do it within the SMSF, personal owned trust, or
I'll do it probably trust again. Got 2 in there a couple of years ago. What was that? End of
so you've
2024.
got 2 in your trust,
2 in a trust, yeah,
and 7,
and then I got a
in your personal
6 in personal name.
Yep.
2 in a trust,
Mhm.
the company trustee, and then 1 in SMSF.
Right.
And then the next one will probably be a trust or a company again.
Yeah.
And that'll probably be, I would say, down in Tassie.
Tassie?
Just because I'm seeing the deals come through
Yeah.
for
and then
clients, and
easy.
I want to buy. Looking at them every week, very tempted. So yeah, I'll do an owner rock at some point as well, which
Okay.
is kind of holding me back a little bit
Yeah.
from that next one. But yeah, we'll see.
What are you thinking up in
Coffs. If I do an owner rock, it'll be in Coffs.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is Coffs is not the cheapest market, and I want a couple acres.
Yeah.
So potentially one option is to either get a block off my dad, buy a block off him,
Nice.
or buy an existing
Do a land
property,
build?
do a land and build, or buy something existing.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's not. Yeah, land in Coffs for a couple acres is over $1 million, and then if you're buying a block of land for $1 million, you've got to build a house on it. You can't build a 350k specky. I know. Can't get a fold out granny flat and stick on a million
but
block.
the
Killing
biggest houses are like 10,000. These, you know what I mean? Like a little 2-bedder or whatever. I chuck a couple of those.
5 of them.
Yeah, you can get 10
Build a
of those,
shed.
really.
Build a shed. Have 5 of them under.
100 grand.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, passive income. Yeah, so it'll either be. Yeah, I probably will just pull the trigger and go for number 10.
Nice.
I feel like
Yeah.
if I'm going to stop, I shouldn't stop on 9.
Yeah.
I should stop on 10.
100%. Got to go.
That's well. 10 was ago when I was 20, or when I bought the first one. Yeah, I was 21, and I thought I wanted to have 10 by 30.
Yeah.
I later realized that didn't really mean that much, because you can buy 10 properties at 150k each, or you can buy better properties at 500-600k each, which is more where I went. But yeah, I think that I'll probably end up with 10 by the end of this year.
Is you buy a lot of stuff that's within that kind of 500 to 700 mark. Why do you think that that's kind of a bit of a sweet spot to buy?
I think it's a sweet spot because of affordability. So if we look at the Vic market, when we started buying there 18 months, 2 years ago, we're buying freestanding houses for, mate, I bought one personally for 345k on 780 meters.
So
Needed a renovation.
Yeah.
But
with the carpet in the kitchen.
carpet in the kitchen didn't look great. And
Couple of stains.
a few TikTok warriors told me I was an idiot. But now that property's worth 550, and
And the market's growing down.
and the market's grown because of affordability.
Yep.
So that 4 to not 4 anymore, say 5 to 700k price range, which we're now targeting in Vic and also down in Tassie. There's so much room for that to have growth because so many people can still afford it, especially in an environment
Single or
where
dual
single,
applicants.
dual, young, old, whatever it is. But in an environment, and the yields are better as well, so it helps our holding costs. If you're buying for 2 mil, then you're going to be copping a 1.5, 2, 3% yield, which is going to mean you're very negatively geared. I haven't been able to afford massive amounts of negative gearing most of my life.
Yeah.
So we've always tried to pick markets that are in that affordable range that have the ability.
6 sort of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, minimum 4% yield if we can. Most you'll get these days about 5. But if I look back, 7, 8 years ago, I was buying for 240 grand, and that was the affordable price bracket back then. Now it's 5 to 600k.
Yeah.
So I've always liked the affordable bracket because everyone can afford it. Yeah. If economic times actually do get bad, then there's going to be a lot of people that want to rent them, and everyone's still going to be able to afford them. Whereas if you're buying at the top end of town, you're very negatively geared. If rates go up, you're more stressed because your payments are even more negative than they already are.
I mean,
And
everybody's calling us, right? When
Exactly.
rates are
Yeah.
going up. It's
Everyone's freaking
constantly.
out. Yeah. Yeah.
What can I do? Can I refinance? Can I cash out?
Exactly.
Yeah.
If you've got a property that you bought in the lower price bracket and you're only negative, I say only, but only negative 10, 15 grand a year,
Yeah.
as opposed to 30, 40 grand a year, it's a lot less stressful.
For sure.
So that's why I've always liked that affordable price bracket. It's always done well.
Yeah.
So I'm not really looking to change.
In terms of buying, what's your strategy always been when you're buying a property? Do you try and keep a bit of a buffer sitting in your offset or in your cash reserves when buying?
Yeah. So I said this to you this morning.
Yeah.
I settled a property once. I had $500 left, but that was not intentional. And obviously, when we're talking to clients, we make sure that, if we refinance and pull equity out, if they buy for 600 and they need, say, 150 to complete that purchase, we'll say, hey, let's pull out 200 and then chuck 50 in your offset. We don't want to use it, just there for a rainy day. That's what I've always done. So I've always,
You're not paying any interest on it anyway. If
No.
you've got it interest only, you're literally not even making any repayments. If it's P&I, then you're just making the principal repayments, right?
Yeah.
So
Exactly. So I've always pulled out more than I need for the next purchase and then sat a good buffer. And for me, I like to go
about 10%.
I like to go 10% of my debt.
Yeah,
If you can. You can't always. When you're starting out, that's hard.
for sure.
But if you can buy your properties, pull your equity out, and then release a buffer each time, it just gives you a lot of safety for good times, but also when the times when rates start going up, rather than freaking out because you got to dip into your savings for your cash flow or something like that. If you have to momentarily dip into that offset funds to make your payments,
Which a lot of people don't even have that offset or redraw account. And the reason why you kind of worry about those rates is because you don't have any savings or you don't have any in the offset that allows you to kind of be like, well, I've got, a year's worth of repayments. I don't think there's going to be any issue. Obviously, the rates could go on longer than that, right? But at that point, then you'd get to a point
buy yourself
and
time.
you'd be like, should I sell or should I not? You know what I mean? Instead of being like, straight away and feeling like you either need to sell it or like, what can I do to get out of this, right?
Yeah. It's hard to go broke with, 500 grand in the bank if you got a big portfolio. If you got 5, 6 properties, 7 properties, and you're refinancing 50, 100K out extra every time, and you do that over 10 years, you can end up with, we've got clients that have, 2, 3, 4, 500 grand
I've had
in the offset.
Had
over $1 million,
$4 million worth of loans and sitting $4 million in their offsets.
Exactly. So you just want to have that buffer at all times, and it gives you the ability to go harder than you otherwise would. So yeah. Oh well, Benji, I reckon that's about it. What do you reckon? You got any tips? Leave me with a tip for 22-year-old Ben that was going to buy a property but went to Europe instead.
Yeah, I would have.
What would it be?
Talked to a broker that had a little bit of help in understanding the market and also being able to, buy in the right place, right? I would have bought the place as an investment property and then just set and forget it and then gone over there and just worked my ass off and then come back and then, I don't know, either sold it or kept on going and kept on building from there because I would have had equity that would have been already been paying it off. Obviously an investment, I didn't have, any other expenses other than like my rent and that sort of thing. But obviously I was able to pay that because I had a job that was over there. So I wouldn't have had as much fun money when I was over there. I probably wouldn't have. When I was over there, I probably took about 6 months off and just,
Partied up.
chilled out. Yeah.
Chilled out.
Travel
real
chill.
chill.
You know what I mean? Like I was over in Europe, like on a weekend basis, going to France and Italy. I went there like 5, 6 times each. Went all around Europe. But I would buy that property as soon as possible. And then just set and forget it, and then just keep on motoring on and putting your money into the offset, and then building from there.
Yeah. So closing remark is buy property sooner.
Buy property as
long
soon as
term.
you can, and like I get it. Like a lot of people these days, they have the money, they have the borrowing capacity, they may even have that pre-approval already, but they're holding off because they worry about the repayments. Like we've literally worked these out with you, right? If the broker says it's okay, the bank says it's okay, you've got the money as a deposit. Why would you not get into that market? Because the market is continuously going up. Every step that you pull off and hold back, you're letting that market go.
Pull the trigger.
Get it done.
Get it done. Righto.
Thanks
That'll
for
do.
me, Phil.
Thanks, mate. Much appreciated.